This is Radio Takeover, Brevard's hit talk radio program with Karen Wooden and Chuck Fresh. Wednesdays at 1, live on 1510 WMEL, 94.7 FM Cocoa, 99.9 FM Cocoa, 100.7 in Melbourne. Streaming online on SoundCloud, YouTube, iHeartRadio, and iTunes. Now, hold on to your seats. It's time for this week's edition of Radio Takeover.
And ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this week's edition of Radio Takeover. My name is Dr. Chuck Fresh. I'm here along with Dr. Karen Wooden, and we have a special doctor guest today. But I'm not going to tell you who that is just yet because we have to issue this disclaimer.
Wait.
Hold on.
Beep, beep, beep.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're about to approach adult subject matter. If you have children listening to the radio at this time, please divert their attention to SpongeBob or something else that's more appropriate for their age level. Thank you. How was that? Seriously, if you got kids listening, we're going to talk about sex, S-E-X, which is a very, very important topic that not a lot of people talk about. And Gary talks about it a lot. But
Yes.
We're going to talk about this on a professional level because we have a professional here. So let's tell you about what we got. A couple of things. We got a couple shout outs we can do real quick.
Yes. Let's give a shout out to Grace at the Red Ginger.
Hey, Grace.
Hey, Grace. Thanks for joining us. We're so glad you're listening.
Do you deliver to Coco? No.
No.
Okay. And also we met with Salo and Joanna last night, two geniuses, groundbreakers in this area, just amazing people. And what they're doing in this county is just mind-blowing.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
So I'm proud to know them.
We're partnering up with them again.
Whoop, whoop.
So good things will be coming. Do you think we can say something about what's coming?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. The Masquerade, Martinis, and Masterpieces will be coming up once again in November.
That's right. And I'm invited this year, ladies.
You're invited
I may
this
actually
year.
be there.
He did the voiceover for it last year and he didn't make it.
Isn't that funny?
Show up. Yeah.
I just found out we did that.
So we're in the planning mode of that, and it's going to be really exciting.
And that's a fundraiser for charity too, isn't it?
It's going to be a fundraiser for 3 of Sheriff Wayne Ivy's charities.
Sheriff Ivy in the house.
Yeah, he rocks.
He's always doing something
He's
really
awesome.
cool around here.
He's awesome.
So that's coming up in November. So watch our website. We'll have links to it and everything. Once are tickets available now, or they're still in the
Tickets
planning
are
station?
not available yet, but they will be soon.
And where's this going to be this year?
This is going to be at the Red Ginger at Melbourne Square Mall.
Red Ginger. Grace.
Yeah.
Grace is doing all kinds of stuff. Thank
She
you,
rocks,
Grace. You're
yes.
so awesome. She's
Great
just
food.
wonderful people too.
Great people, great food.
That's right.
Yeah, awesome. And we are going to give a quick shout out and say congratulations to Miss Caitlin for graduating from Vieira High School.
She is 18 technically, so she can listen to this program, I suppose.
Right.
So
But
congratulations,
even though she's not
Caitlin. We're
listening,
very proud of
we
you.
still want to say congratulations.
You got
Woohoo!
wonderful stuff going on in your future. We know you'll be a success out of all of our kids. I think she is she's the big dog. She's the one that's going to support all of us. When I'm unemployed,
Awesome.
and Tina's unemployed, and Karen's unemployed, Caitlin's going to take care of all of us. So
Awesome.
congratulations. That's
Yes.
very, very cool. Hey, who's our wine today? We need to send a shout out to our wine before we forget.
It's one of our regulars, Taylor Fladgate Porto.
Hold on, it takes a...
And it's the first estate reserve. And you
That's
can get
good.
this at pretty much any of your local liquor stores.
Does Kevin Nye, the wine guy, have this in his place?
He does.
Nice.
This is the one he does have on a regular basis because some of us are in there on a regular basis.
Karen buys it all up, so you have
They know me. You know what's really embarrassing is...
You're a regular.
right?
Hey, how you doing? Karen.
If I haven't been in there for a couple weeks,
They worry.
they worry. They
That's right.
actually call the sheriff's department.
They
and make
call
sure,
your
you know,
house, check up on you.
What do they call that? A wellness check?
Listen, are you still wearing that ankle bracelet?
No, it just came off.
All right, good. Congratulations.
Thank
That's
you.
good to know.
Appreciate it.
So let's talk about our
a good
host
day.
today. Did we get everything? We got to get in this. We got a lot of room to cover
Yeah,
here.
no,
We're going to talk
let's
about
jump right
sex
in.
on the radio, on live radio. Who does that?
We do.
We do. We do now. That's right.
We do. It's
Our
going to actually
guest
be very
today, we are
interesting.
proud to invite somebody who's very, very busy. And we're so impressed that she was able to take an hour out of her schedule today. So thank you. Dr. Marianne Brandon, a clinical
Yay.
psychologist and a sex therapist, ladies and gentlemen. A real live sex. Did you know there was such a thing as a sex therapist, Karen?
No, I didn't.
I didn't know that either. She works with individuals and couples in and around, well, she's kind of all over the world now, working out of Boston in sex therapy, sexual desire disorders, marital and relationship problems, hypersexual behavior, guilty, monogamy and fidelity, affair recovery, depression, cultivating passion in long-term relationships, stress, anxiety, alternative sexual relationships, pain during intercourse. I told you we were going to go there. It's already
You
getting
went
free.
there.
And erectile concerns. So, Gary, you may want to listen to this. Dr. Brandon is the author of Monogamy, The Untold Story, and Unlocking the Sexy and Surrender, using the neuroscience of power to recharge your sex life, Karen.
Are you needing some?
She's all, I'm going to stop there. She also is the co-author of the book Reclaiming Desire, 4 Keys to Finding Your Lost Libido. I didn't know you could lose a libido. Apparently that's a big problem. Dr. Brandon served as a board member for the International Sexual Health Society and co-hosted an exciting sex therapy radio show called In Bed with Dr. B and Ted.
That sounds interesting.
Yeah, they actually did the show in a bed.
In a bed.
Yeah, I listened to it. It's really hard to hear.
Hence why it's in bed with...
I would have called it
Dr.
pillow
B.
talk. But anyway, apparently Dr. Brandon...
That's why we're in radio.
That's right. Okay. Someday we're going to be on television. This is going to be doubly embarrassing. And apparently Dr. Brandon can't seem to get enough learning up in here. See? Because she's a graduate of a postdoctoral fellowship in eating and weight disorders from the Shepherd and Enoch Pratt Hospital in Baltimore.
Wow.
And Dr. Brandon also contributes regularly to professional publications. She lectures to other sex therapists. She's like the top dog sex therapist in the world.
It's well,
I'm giving you that
impressive,
title now. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she lectures to physicians, psychologists, and the public. Her writing includes articles and chapters on female sexuality, female low libido. Imagine that. And
why did you look at me?
male and female I have no idea. Male and female sexual dysfunction, aging and sex, and the challenges of monogamy. You need to tell us your monogamy story before we go on. So she's presented seminars on topics relating to personal growth, sex therapy, low libido, and women's sexual dysfunction, and on stress-related disorders such as depression, anxiety, and eating disorders. I didn't know you did things on eating disorders. That's fascinating. There's ever an authority on sex. You've got her right here on Radio Takeover today, ladies and gentlemen. You're listening to her right now. Mother Nature is among us. That's your new name. Ladies and gentlemen, Radio Takeover, proud to present and welcome Dr. Marianne Brandon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Radio Takeover, and thanks again so much for coming on today.
Super impressive here.
Can we hear you? Say something.
Thank you for that great introduction.
Oh, you know what? You've earned it,
Yes.
and you deserve it. How we doing? 4?
I'm so happy to be here. You're right. We need to be talking about sex more. So this is fabulous that you invited me.
You know what? It's our honor and
It
privilege
is.
because nobody talks about sex on the radio. As a matter of fact, we don't talk
No.
about sex
I know.
at all in society, and that's a big problem.
It
We're
is a
all
big-
animals,
Agreed.
Yes.
So let's dig back a little bit. So if we can we ask you some questions about your personal life? We dig in a
Sure.
little? Let's dig back a little bit. So let's get that dreamy music. Way back. Close your eyes for a minute, Dr. Brandon. Think back to your childhood. Right, you're inside the house playing with your Barbies, or outside playing.
I thought you were going to say inside the womb.
You're inside the womb, and you're not born yet. No, you're
Not
outside.
that far back. Sorry, Chuck.
Yeah, we're gonna go a little bit further forward than that. So you're outside playing on your parents' sprawling dude ranch in some desert, dragging your favorite dirty Barbie in the red dirt, right?
How did you know I loved Barbies?
I know. Well, all of your friends, your little friends.
I have a Barbie standing on the rafters in my kitchen right now.
Oh, no.
Crap, this
Wow.
is getting true. I totally made that up, and now it's real. It's even more scary.
Wow.
Yep. I'm all about Barbie.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
so all your little friends, they want to be actresses, models, or a Dallas Cowboy cheerleader. But you were a little different. Were you the child who somehow put Ken in strange positions in the back of Barbie's pink Corvette, Dr. Brandon? So what happened?
I am not guilty.
Not guilty this
guilty.
time? So when did you decide that you were going to... Take us through your career a little bit. When did you decide you wanted to be a sex therapist? What inspired you to do that?
Well, I resisted it. I never intended to be a sex therapist. I didn't want it. I was a clinical psychologist in general practice, and I was working with a gynecologist. We were seeing a lot of women with low sex drive, and he wanted to write a book. And so I said, sure, let's do it. I really never imagined that we would become authors. I thought maybe, this was just an idea that he had that was just going to die, whatever. Well, he got us an agent, and all of a sudden, I'm writing a book. Now, if you've ever written a book with a physician, you're the one that writes the book. They just put their name.
Right.
Okay.
So I'm working away on this book, and he says to me, Marianne, you should become a sex therapist because it'll just help the book sell, give us some credibility. And I'm thinking, there's no way I'm becoming a sex therapist because people are going to think I'm crazy.
Right.
Like, forget it. Like, no way.
So that was your initial thought, your initial thought too, that taboo, you don't want to go there, people are going to kind of blacklist you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, I remember in graduate school driving around in my Mercury Lynx with my friends. We're driving around and somebody's like, we should all become sex therapists. And we're all like, oh, yeah, that's so funny.
And here you are.
Truth is stranger than fiction. Wow.
What is the reaction you get when you're out and somebody asks you what
do you do for a living? You're at a cocktail party. I'm a sex therapist. They're like, okay, what do you really do?
People don't believe me. Sometimes I don't tell people because it's like, you never know how it's going to come across. But yes, I resisted it for a while, and then continued to write the book. And the editor said, Dr. Brandon, you should become a sex therapist. It'll give us credibility. And I'm thinking, okay, now I got to get her off my back. So I thought I'll just ask my friends and my family, and they'll all tell me, yeah, you don't want to do that. That's weird. And I'll just, move on. But you can see where this is going. So I asked my friends, and my friends were all like, oh, Marianne, you'd be a great sex therapist. So I'm thinking, I don't know if that's a compliment. So, I thought, well, I'll ask my mom, because, your mom will support you, and, she'll always say the right thing, right?
Uh-oh.
Well, my mom was, with everybody. She's like, you should do this. This is great.
Really? So
you got to wonder, when everybody tells you, for a living, you should sit around and talk about sex with people that you don't know well, that's a little... So, I surrendered. It's what the universe seemed to be suggesting.
Right.
It kind of pushes you where you're supposed to be.
Right.
Yeah. So, what was your first, when you first started practicing medicine, you were just a psychologist?
Yeah, a clinical psychologist.
So did you start seeing the sexual themes appear in your sessions, and it kind of pushed you in that direction, or?
Well, it's because I was sharing so many patients with this gynecologist that I had a significant number of women with low sex drive, and that's kind of how this all unfolded.
Interesting.
So, it was through those referrals that this all came about.
Are there a lot of sex therapists? You mentioned that you speak at some of these things. There's probably not many. I've never heard of it, but I'm an idiot.
Right. No.
I'm just eye candy.
No, and your wife, Miss Tina Groden, said, pay attention.
Of course
I'm not kidding.
Of course she did. So it's 2017, and still talking about sex seems to be so taboo. It's like a Puritan America. It's really weird. Our culture is really obsessed with sex, if you look at the movies and culture and fiction books, but our general knowledge of human sexuality is really, I guess, rudimentary at best. Mm-hmm. So we really don't know a whole lot about it because we're really not supposed to talk about it. So many people struggle in shame and in silence with sexual concerns. So there's really no way to learn how to become a good lover, is there? Other than trying to watch pornography, and they're faking it.
I was just going to say, because a lot of people, I would appreciate too at some point, and those of you would let people know, what you see, gentlemen, that is not real.
Right. Right. It's a good question. How do people learn? I mean, lovemaking is an art form as far as I'm concerned. It takes practice. There are few people that are really born with that ability to love well. Mm-hmm. But people learn from porn, and that's unfortunate because there's not much art there. Yeah. That teaches something that is really unrealistic. Right. So it is unfortunate. Because people don't have great places to learn. Yeah.
It's got to be difficult for you to get people to really open up and talk about their sexual life and their practices. And really, as you have no foundation, there's no manual, no real book to say, start here. And so it's got to be really hard for you to get people to talk about it. Does it take them a while to open up in your sessions?
That's a good question. Not really, because I start all of my work with people by talking about the statistics about the kind of sex people are having, so that they realize they're just one of many. So, like the percentage of people that are in sexless marriage, for example, that's 20%.
Wow.
So that's defined as having sex 6 times a year or less. So 20% of couples are in sexless marriages, 1 in 5. That's a big number. And 40% of women have a sexual concern or dysfunction. So that's like low libido or arousal concerns or having difficulty with orgasm. But 40%, and that's all ages. That's 20-year-olds as well as 70-year-olds. Okay, so we're talking the gamut. And men too. 1/3 of men have a sexual concern or dysfunction. So that's like erectile issues, not having an orgasm soon enough, having an orgasm too quickly, all that stuff. So when you look at all these statistics, and then the percentages of people like having affairs, that's like at least 1/3 of people. Now, there are people, they're not at every one time, like once in a lifetime, let's say, it's 1/3 of people. But that number is a guess, and depending on how you define affair. So if we were to talk about emotional affairs, that number goes up. But at any rate, this is what I tell people the first time they're in my office is we look at all these stats. There's even more than what I just shared with you. Now, obviously, some people are in more than one category, but nonetheless, we have this notion that everybody's having great sex, and really that's not the case. So when people realize, what they're saying to me, I hear, multiple times a day, every day of the week, they feel a little more comfortable. So it really doesn't take them long. I think the difficulty is probably them getting to a point where they call me.
Isn't it true, though, if I can just interject, that girls, they're girls to me, in their 20s, you're really not at the same level as the boys in their 20s. Like, in your 20s, it seems that the boys are, or I shouldn't use that word, the men are more, sexually active or more, what's the word I'm looking for? Help me here. Thank you. That came from the sound room. Horny.
Gary said horny, ladies and gentlemen.
And women really don't reach that phase. Well, we just did. Until later on in life. Do you find that to be true?
So your question is that men in their 20s have more of a libido than women in their 20s? I think that is very likely. I mean, testosterone plays a big role in the difference in libido, and there really is a shift. There really is a difference. There are differences sexually between the genders. Right. And I know right now it's kind of politically incorrect to talk about gender so much as distinct, and kind of like we all like share so many characteristics, and that's true. But there are some basic differences between males and females, and libido is one of them. But there's a lot of differences. So yeah, you're right on. Like guys go to strip clubs, guys fantasize more, they masturbate more, they pay for sex. They're into fetishes. Women are rarely into fetishes. Right. There are so many differences between men and women sexually. So yeah, Karen, I'm in agreement with what you're saying. Okay.
She put it a lot more eloquently.
You did
than
it.
She did. Yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah, I struggle with some of that there.
Do you think it has something to do with maybe psychologically women really only want, and this is my opinion, and you can smash it if you want, but maybe women are more interested in having sexual relations only when they're in their reproductive times? Do you think it's something they're taught to do, or?
That's a good question, and there is an element of, I don't want to say truth to that, but there are some stereotypes that we hold about men and women that do have some truth, and men and women do approach erotica and sex very differently. So we see women like storylines, they like romance. Yeah. They're attracted to the relationship, not just the sex. And guys are much more oriented toward just the sex, very basic. That's what they're interested in. So when you offer a woman romance and partnership and all of that, I think that you would find that on either end, age range, women are still interested, but they're more finicky about what they're attracted to than guys. So because they're so finicky, I think that you see less interest than you would expect.
Yeah, stability and security. And it's kind of the things.
It's got to be the whole package.
Yeah, it's evolution, really. They had to be more careful through the years.
And why have you guys not figured this out? I mean, evolution.
Because we're idiots. Guys live through everything.
Right?
Women just kind of, they kind of fell off, and this is what we're left with. The strong survive. So now we're left with a bunch of strong women who hate sex.
No. I don't
That's
think
not true at all.
I just think
throwing it out there.
women like a little bit of everything and not, if you have, the emotional attachment. I'm being
romance.
harassed over
Gary's
here.
throwing out. He
Romance.
said, "Yeah, they want romance."
I was getting
yeah.
there. Thank you,
But
Gary.
it's not just beyond romance, because you could romance somebody and be a schmuck.
Well, you
And have 20 cents in your pocket and look at you. Wow, you're driving a Mercury. What did you drive? A
Mercury Lynx.
Yeah, you're driving a Lynx, man. I'm not hooking up with you because you're driving today. You know what I mean?
Right. But I agree with you. I think for women, it's a lot more than just that.
It's interesting. So we have only a couple of minutes. We're going to take it. Go ahead.
From an evolutionary perspective, I think that's a really good point. In my process of becoming a sex therapist, I became an evolutionary psychologist because it became so evident to me that we're primates, we're mammals, and we can't understand sex without that awareness.
Yeah.
So I think it's a vital piece of our understanding that we tend to ignore.
Well, it really is the root of our existence. If we didn't have sex, we wouldn't have us. You know what I mean? There's no more reproduction, no more race. So
Right.
that's interesting how you got there. I see another book in your future.
Right?
There's when you think about at a very basic level, reproduction is about DNA transmission, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so 2 million years ago, the people that were successfully having children are the people that are our ancestors.
Right.
Now, so when you think about what sex was for them 2 million years ago, it's important to remember guys have unlimited sperm. So the way to be successful as a man is to spread your seed, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just you have unlimited sperm.
She just verified the most important thing that all men have needed to hear their entire lives. Thank you very much, Dr. Brandon. All right, we're going to turn the show off now. We're done. No, I completely understand. You're right. I mean, the people who were able to procreate the most survived.
Right.
That's how it
and
went down.
that's in contrast to females who are born with a finite number of eggs.
Yeah.
And in a woman's lifetime, at most, she's going to fertilize 10 eggs. At most, right?
Wow.
She's going to have 10 kids. At most,
Right.
versus a man's unlimited possibility, right?
Oh, yeah.
So she approaches her DNA transmission, sex, in a very different way. That's why I propose women are so finicky, because 2 million years ago, if all you have is 8 seeds versus unlimited seeds, you're going to approach the process of sex very differently.
Right.
Interesting. Will you hang around for the second half hour? We're going to take a break in a couple seconds here. Our guest today, Dr. Marianne Brandon out of Boston. She's a real live sex therapist, Karen. It's amazing. It still blows my mind that there's actually such a thing. So we have much more interesting questions for Dr. Brandon right after the break. This is Radio Takeover. My name is Chuck Fresh along with Karen Wooden. And stick around because I'm sure you'll find this pretty interesting. I've got some zingers if you're ready for them, so you may want to have some wine in the meantime. All right, so we'll be back right after these words.
Whenever I am on the Space Coast, I always make time in my schedule to listen to Radio Takeover with Karen Wooden and Chuck Fresh. Stand by. They'll be back for another half hour after these messages.
Brevard Marketing and their team of marketing geniuses will definitely get your message heard loud and clear.
Marketing isn't rocket science, but it isn't for losers either. When you're ready to turn up the heat, call Brevard Marketing.
Things are about to get real. Visit www.brevardmarketing.com for more. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back with Karen Wooden and Chuck Fresh with Radio Takeover, WMEL's hit radio talk show program. Heard every Wednesday on fine radio stations like this.
Welcome back to Radio Takeover, the award-winning Brevard County radio talk show, ladies and gentlemen. Award-winning.
Award-winning.
That's right. Multi-award-winning.
We actually have an award.
We have an award now. It's official. Yeah. This is for real, Dr. Brandon. That's our guest, Dr. Marianne Brandon, hailing from Boston. She's a real live sex therapist, like the queen of all sex therapists. We now call her Mother Nature.
Mother Nature.
It's really without her, this doesn't even happen.
Dr. Mother Nature.
Dr. Mother Nature.
Dr. Mother Nature.
You didn't know me, but Mother Nature was a doctor.
Right?
So you can find more information on her. We'll put all your links on our Facebook and our website too, but you can find more information about Dr. Brandon on drbrandon.net. That's BRANDON.net. So make sure you check that out. And you can hire Dr. Brandon, actually. You can,
Do you have gift certificates?
Yeah, do you have? Imagine that. That's a great idea.
That's very funny.
That's a little freaky, yeah. Imagine getting this. Hey, honey, I got you a present. Happy anniversary. Here's it.
It's not, in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, why not, right?
That'd be great
Treat
for
yourself.
Valentine's Day.
Treat your marriage.
That's true.
Right?
To a sex coach. That's a great
That is
It
interesting.
really is.
We'll talk after the show.
Thank you. I'll be here all week.
Trademark, patent, Kickstarter. Dang, we gave another one away.
I know, all the time.
All right, remember, if you have children listening, this is an adult subject matter, so throw the kids in the other room and lock them in a closet or something for the next 20 or something.
And if you can't do that, you can always listen to this later because we will have this posted on our Facebook.
That's right, Facebook, YouTube, SoundCloud, all that. You'll find us. So check us out at brevardradio.com. So let's kick back in. We've got a lot of material to cover, just a little bit of time. Go ahead, Karen.
Okay, so say you're at a bar and there's this really hot guy sitting alone, sipping an old-fashioned, neat, under the faint glow of an air...
Good.
Really?
This is a great question. No, start it over again. This is really good. Go, do it over again.
Okay, Karen didn't write this question.
No, I wrote it. Go ahead.
Okay.
Now, really get into the moment, Karen.
Okay, so you're at a bar. You're at a bar. And you see this really, really hot guy. He's sitting alone. He's drinking a rum and coke. He's neat. He's clean. He's just totally ripped. In shape. Am I doing okay?
Yeah, good.
Okay.
I'm getting into this now.
Have I captured it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
You focus in a little closer. And you notice it's the dude from Trivago.
Trivago guy. Exceptionally
Tim
hot.
Williams.
I hate him.
Can I throw somebody else in there?
Go ahead.
No, I won't do that. He smiles at you, and things begin.
I'll finish it. So
Thank you,
things
Chuck.
begin to happen, okay? You know what I'm talking about. You can't fight that. So,
It happened.
Dr. Brandon.
That's not what it says in my notes.
No, we can't do that on the radio. I just want to see if I could fool Karen into saying it. So is monogamy realistically human, Dr. Brandon, or does it take some kind of fake control that we impose upon ourselves as in society?
Oh gosh, that's such a great question, and I love that we can talk about this because it is very applicable to so many folks. Is monogamy necessarily what the human body is designed to do?
No, right? Next question. No, go ahead.
Right.
I'm sorry.
Most likely not. We're mammals. We're primates.
I'm gonna start smacking you here. Sorry. Not
Let her
you.
finish. Go
Chuck.
ahead. So we're mammals.
So from that perspective, the human body isn't really oriented by Mother Nature to have one partner for decade after decade. There are good reasons for that, which we could talk about, like immune system, stuff like that. There's biology behind that. But the truth of the matter is, everyone's a little different with how easy or not monogamy is for them. So there are a whole lot of variables to consider. So people's hormones, for example, some people have higher sex hormones than other people, and that makes monogamy more challenging. Some people have personality styles that make monogamy more challenging. So extroverts have a harder time with monogamy than introverts, for example. Then folks who are very religious or part of a community that discourages monogamy have an easier time with it because they have so much support, right? People who have social groups that where their friends are having affairs and stuff, well, that's harder for them because the people that they're interacting with and close to are not monogamous. So there are many different variables that come into play to determine like who has an easier time with it and who doesn't.
So it's not realistic.
You're not getting permission.
I like to get
here.
the short
You're
little.
not getting permission.
All right, Tina, forget it. I should throw that out there. She wanted me to ask that question. So, in Unlocking the Sexy in Surrender, one of my favorite books ever, personally, you discuss that the brains of men and women are fundamentally different, which is going back to what we just talked about. And those differences impact the way that we look at sex. So, maybe I'm oversimplifying this, but I believe that men are wired to procreate and women are wired to nurture and protect. So, how do you find a compromise in your profession?
I think we're all wired to procreate, quite frankly. It's just that we have different strategies, kind of going back to what we've talked about earlier, so I don't want to repeat that too much. But if you only have 8 seeds, you're going to have a different strategy for procreation than if you have unlimited seeds, right? Women's brains are different, and they are oriented more to nurturing. Men are oriented more toward aggression. We do see these differences consistently cross-culturally among men and women. So that's all true. So your question is, how do we find a way for them to meet in the middle, right?
Right.
Well, that's a really good question, and it sometimes amazes me that men and women can be intimate for as long as they can be, because we really are very different in some profound ways, and everyone is unique. So it is a challenge, absolutely.
But
it
women are.
So many people. I mean, 50% of marriages end in divorce, and a lot of people stay together when they're not in a good relationship. And 20% of marriages are sexless, like we talked about earlier. There's a lot of challenges out there.
Yeah.
But women are smarter. I just want to throw that in there.
It's true. It's
that
very true.
got left out, but I just want to make sure that.
It's true. Do you agree that women are smarter, Dr. Brandon? Don't answer that.
Proven.
You're in trouble.
It's proven.
Don't even answer that.
It's proven.
Go ahead. You're next.
This question came in for you. Let me pull it up. Okay.
Who's this question from, Karen?
This is from somebody.
I'm trying to throw somebody else under the bus here. Go ahead.
Okay. This is from my mom. She sent a text.
The truth comes out. Hey, Mom.
Yes. What's the most frequent or common problem women seek help for, and also men?
That is such a great question.
Good one, Mom.
Nice.
So women would seek help for low libido most commonly in sex therapy. Guys struggle with erectile dysfunction and premature ejaculation, but they don't necessarily seek help for it.
Okay.
It's more difficult for a guy to acknowledge a sexual issue, it seems, than for a female. So.
And I can't believe I just asked that question from my mom.
Now, say a guy has premature ejaculation. So what do you do? Is there a way to talk him out of that? Think of scary-looking people.
That's
monsters.
So
we lost Karen.
Actually,
I said that a lot nicer than I would say at a bar. Go ahead. Are you okay? Okay, she choked a little bit. She's okay.
Yeah, she's choking.
Yeah.
I was just taking a drink.
I'm just curious. So what would you do?
So about a third of guys feel like they have premature ejaculation. It's an evolutionary, it's an interesting evolutionary concept, because the guys who could actually ejaculate fast were more successful, back in the tundra, right?
Right.
That was really good.
Get it done. Yeah.
Yeah. So when I work with a guy with PE, I mean, we talk about that this is a modern day problem. This is not inherently a bad thing. It's just the way we understand sex these days. It's become a bad thing. But, most guys ejaculate within 3 minutes. So guys often think they have PE, or let me say, at least a third of guys ejaculate within 3 minutes.
Wow.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot of guys. 3 minutes isn't a long period of time. So a lot of times guys think they have PE when they don't. But urologists, the way they treat it is with an SSRI. They actually give antidepressants, because antidepressants have the side effect of lowering libido and decreasing sensitivity.
Numbing.
And then there are numbing creams and that sort of thing as well. But the advice that you should be thinking about something other than sex is not good advice.
Don't listen to me. I'm an idiot.
Well, guys, they think that. They think they should be thinking about, whatever. So like,
go ahead. Like what?
But what we encourage guys to do is actually become more aware of their body, not less, because the more aware you are of your body, the better chance you have of control.
You need to take notes, Chuck. Write this down.
Yeah, I'm writing this down.
And so if you're more tuned into your body and you can feel yourself getting very excited, then you can do things like slow down the way you're thrusting or change positions. No, you can't do that.
But don't women really, and this question may be for you too, Karen, don't you find that premature ejaculation might be flattery? Like, baby,
I-
you really do it for me.
Honestly, have to say I haven't experienced
Okay, don't even answer that. Go ahead.
You know what? I think that people don't realize that if they really are struggling with that, sex toys come in handy. You know, people don't have to have intercourse for extended periods of time to have a great time. There are toys and there are other things to do. So
Robots.
that's just a really important
robots.
point.
Yeah.
You know, we do have another question, and it's, can porn hurt a relationship?
Can porn hurt a relationship?
Can porn hurt a relationship? Yeah.
So, gosh, that's such a controversial topic. There are people that are very concerned about that. Most folks who watch porn feel like it doesn't interfere with their life or their relationship in a negative way. But there's a significant number of people that do feel like it's damaging for the female, or making life more challenging for the guy who's watching the porn. Now, what we do have research showing is that there's a significant number of people who think they abuse porn who actually don't. They don't watch much porn. It's just that they have a certain moral compass that tells them that they're, watching too much porn, for example. So it's a kind of a murky territory. There's a lot of people that have no issue with it. There are some people that struggle, some people that think they're struggling, but don't appear to be doing anything different than anyone else.
I think there's an issue if you're watching it and you're not being honest. I think that would be an issue.
You've written, actually, that leads us into the next question, that sexual creativity is very important in a monogamous relationship. So are we talking place, position, method? Give us some examples of being creative in the bedroom, Dr. Brandon.
You know, that's a good question, because it doesn't take much to change things, to make things feel different and interesting and creative. So really, just making love in a different room of the house is creative. It changes the environment and it changes what people do. So kind of getting out of your rut in any way can be helpful. Just wearing shoes to bed, or
That's not your high tops, Chuck.
Oh, not me? Oh, I thought you're a woman. Okay. But what about washing machines? Is anything sexually advantageous to washing machines? The vibration, maybe?
Safety.
Who started that washing machine
No,
thing?
it was in a movie or something, wasn't it?
You know what? It was actually, there was a program out there, and this is why it brings back a memory to me. It was, I don't know if it was 1,000 Ways to Die, but they showed a couple. Yeah, I'm sorry.
I didn't see that
just
one. I don't
let
know
that
what
out.
the hell you're talking
That's
about.
the first thing that came to my mind. Sorry.
So,
I've never, in all my years of practice as a sex therapist, I've never heard anyone say that a washing machine was an effective way.
really?
Never heard it.
But it puts your baby to sleep.
Well, the same kind of effect as driving, too, right? The
Yes.
vibrational relaxation. Never mind.
Okay. Now, moving forward.
Moving forward.
Sorry.
So I've got a question for you. So you've heard the saying, don't poop where you eat, right, Dr. Brandon? So either you have the healthiest, you personally may have the
That's a
healthiest
Chuck phrase.
sexual relationship in the universe, or you drive your husband completely batty. So does he feel like you're analyzing his every move and situation? It's got to drive him nuts.
Yeah, no, you know what? I turn that off. I mean, I love being a therapist. I love being a therapist, but no, it's not an effective way to have people close to you.
So you look at you kind of a quarter like, wait, you never did that before.
Right.
Right, we don't want to go too close to that. So this next question is really troubling. All right, let's just throw it out there, shall we? So we've got a ton of self-professed, you may not understand the terminology, it's colloquial, Mac Daddies, pimps, hoes, and Casanovas in our radio takeover audience, including Gary. But I bet they're just jacked up roid junkies with ugly little weens. So in your professional experience, what are the qualities of a great male lover?
The qualities of a great lover. You know, I think men or women, it's important to be embodied, meaning like tuned into your body. And that's difficult for us these days because we're always like thinking and planning and organizing and using, our brains. But to be a sensual lover, you kind of like inhabit your body, like be able to feel your body and tuned in. So things like yoga or Tai Chi, stuff like that can help people become embodied. And that's an important that's an important piece of the puzzle. And I think men and women, people who know their emotions well, are good lovers because they can read other people's emotions. So to be a responsive lover, it's helpful to be able to see what your lover's feeling and needing. And, while none of us can read minds, if you're able to sort of tune into your partner and get a sense of what they're feeling based on what they're sounding like or looking like, you're going to be more attentive and you're going to be more attuned to your partner. So I would say, and then on top of that, I think being non-judgmental so that people feel like they can be free with what turns them on. They can talk about what they want and need without worry that they're going to look bad or be made to feel silly. So being embodied is really important. Knowing your emotions so that you can read your partner's emotions, and being non-judgmental. I would say those would be the important traits.
You just knocked out about 80% of the male population. Now Karen's got a humdinger of a question for you right now.
Chuck has a question.
I'm going to leave the room.
Chuck wants to know. Bye, Chuck. Chuck wants to know, does size matter?
What size, Karen?
So
Size of what?
Everybody wants
We
to
all
know.
The size of our penis?
Thank you for
Penis
clarifying
size? Is that
that.
what we're talking about here? We can say it's science, right? We're talking about psychology.
Well, this
And we do have
is.
science on that.
So let's say a guy has an orange micro penis, for example. Can he still become a great lover? Can women get past the image of an orange micro penis, Dr. Brandon?
So, everybody's different, okay? So there are going to be women that feel like size is really important to them, and there are women that don't. Just
Really?
like for every trait, right? But there are so many ways to make love that's one variable. And for a man who feels like he can't trust his penis, like he can't maintain an erection.
I have that problem.
You have that problem.
You're terrible. I hate you.
I'm sorry.
So-
You know what? I have a lot of questions for Chuck later. Sorry, Tina.
You knew this would go this way, didn't you? You're just going to go south.
Questions.
So if he feels like, he's struggling within that area, there are a million ways to make love.
But ultimately, it's up to the image that the woman has constructed in her own mind, whether he's going to be able to get past that, right? So if she thinks that she needs a man with a large appendage, then she's always going to need that. There's really not much he can do to change her mind, is there?
That may be. I'm not sure. I think there are so many ways to make love that I feel like if he is not scared away, if he can embrace other creative ways of being with his partner, he could change her mind. I don't see that as a deal breaker.
Yeah.
Now, for some women, that will be a deal breaker. I mean, for some men, breast size is a deal breaker, right?
True.
I mean, it's just
That's
these
true.
things.
I think it's across the board. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Men are
very-
idiots.
I wasn't going to say that, but
Yeah. But that's
But most people are flexible. Most people can. There are many ways to get turned on and to share pleasure. So,
can I ask you a question on that subject? When we're talking about with men, well, it's a little off the subject, but why do guys feel the need to name it?
Yeah, why is that, Dr. Brandon?
I mean, it's, you could be in that moment and the person says something, oh, it's time for, I don't know, I'm not going to say anything, but they'll come out with the name and you're just like,
I've
really?
never been asked that question before, but my
Sorry.
I've never heard that question before.
I've never heard that question.
Can we edit this out?
Right. I know it just kind of came into my mind as we were talking about that, but
Okay, guys often feel like their penis has a life of its own, So
It does.
That's why,
It's true.
maybe that's why they feel the need to name, because it's not doesn't necessarily feel like it's a part of them all the time.
I didn't really ever name my member, but I'm going to right now. I would call him Magic Johnson. Do you think that's an appropriate name? All right, go ahead. Would you another?
I've heard of Big Jim and the Twins.
Oh my God!
I'm sorry.
So let's get back on track here.
Okay, sorry.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Okay.
Let's get professional.
No. All right. So you argue that in Reclaiming Desire, one of the books you wrote, 4 Keys Defining Your Lost Libido, you argue that a decline in sexual desire seldom has one single cause. It's a book that you co-authored with Dr. Andrew Goldstein. Was he the doctor that you wrote your first book with?
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yes.
So you recommend a holistic treatment that addresses the 4 spheres of a woman's life. Tell us about that.
So libido, particularly for a female, is very complicated, and it involves her emotional self and her physical body and her physical health, her spiritual understanding, and making love from that context, and the way what she thinks about and her relationship. All of these pieces are very important for her. Guys are a little more simple around this stuff, and I don't say that disrespectfully. They're just more simplistic in terms of what turns them on. So for a woman, she needs to kind of be aware of what's going on for her in all of those spheres if she's struggling with libido, because it's likely that in one or more of those aspects of her life, there's something that's out of balance or not quite working for her, something that's not quite right for her.
Interesting. So have you had many sessions with homosexual men or women, or their sexual problems tend to be similar to the heterosexual problems?
They do. Now, I haven't had many. I spent most of my career in Annapolis, Maryland, which is a pretty conservative town, so I wouldn't say that I've worked with many, but I certainly have worked with quite a number of them, and yeah, they have the same issues that everybody else does.
That's really interesting. You really think about that. Now, go ahead, Karen. I'm taking all these away from you.
Oh, no. We have a couple questions.
She's got some
Let's just
zingers.
go. Let's
ahead.
jump to this one. What's your position on separate vacations or even separate bedrooms? We're not talking every vacation, but
That's a good question.
It's a good question, and you know what? I encourage it.
Separate bedrooms?
Yeah, separate bedrooms. Now, separate bedrooms, if couples don't use them as a way to get away from each other, but they use it as a way to kind of like heighten the tension between each other. So making like time together more special, using it like as a way of flirting, like inviting your partner into your bedroom that night, so that things aren't taken for granted so much, and you just don't get so like bored and in a rut. Now, if separate bedrooms are used as a way to get away, like, because I don't want to be with my partner, then it doesn't work.
But if getting away means too, like one of you snores a lot, one of you flips and flops a lot, and you're not getting a decent night's sleep,
So that's a
can
different
that
issue
be damaging to your relationship as well?
So, everybody needs sleep, and that's a real common reason why people go into separate bedrooms, absolutely. But what I would say is if that's what a couple needs to do, if somebody's snoring, then make dates to make love and get into the habit of spending time in each other's room before bed and stuff like that, so that there's still romantic time and quiet, like personal, private time together. And so those couples probably need a little extra consciousness around that.
Right.
But in separate vacations too, we can get like enmeshed with our partner. Like there is such a thing as too much time or being too close, and then there's just not enough tension to make sex interesting. So separate vacations can allow people to kind of go out into the world and have new experiences and come back and talk about them. It can keep things kind of interesting. So that stuff is all good.
But we're not talking new experiences as having affairs.
No, we're not talking
just to clarify that.
Damn, you just killjoy everything. Hey, listen, while we got you here, we got a couple of minutes left. I have some very important questions that I need to know for my own personal knowledge. Is there a proven benefit for the prostate with more frequent ejaculation, or is it just some lame excuse I'm using with my wife?
No.
You really researched this.
On this.
Yeah.
So I actually was speaking to a urologist about this last week, and his suggestion was that guys should have at least an ejaculation every week. But we do have research that shows that you're like one a week.
A week? Wait, it's a day. Hour.
An hour. Not happening.
Right. Yeah, okay. All right,
So
she's
at least one a week. So, right. But yeah, we do have research that shows that it's good for the prostate.
Interesting. See,
That's
that's
interesting.
valid. So men, you can use that excuse if you're in a healthy relationship.
What if you have a headache? My
Uh-oh.
head's hurting. I'm just kidding. I had to throw that out there.
So
I just read a study the other day that that suggests that intercourse is good for certain aspects of a woman's memory.
Oh, interesting.
Is that why mine's failing?
I like that too. So what are you working on now? What's next for Dr. Brandon?
Well, tomorrow I'm on my way to Austin, Texas for the Paleo FX conference. I'm going to be presenting there. And I'm doing writing on instincts. We talked about that earlier today. I think that's a really important aspect of sexuality that's misunderstood. So that's
Awesome.
what I'm working on.
Are you still doing work with the eating disorders? Is that what the paleo thing called? Yeah.
No. I'm talking about paleo sex, basically, which is kind of what we've been discussing in terms of evolutionarily informed sex, or sex informed by primates and mammals and stuff like that.
Gotcha. All right, we're running out of time here. I want to thank you again, Dr. Brandon, for coming. You can find more about her at drbrandon.net. She's on Twitter at Dr. Brandon, on Facebook at Dr. Marianne Brandon. Thank you so much, and don't miss 60 Seconds of Sex, which is on every week on Twitter and Facebook. And thank you again we have to have you back on. I have so many more questions.
And one last thing.
Go ahead.
Tina said, quote us.
Thanks again, Dr. Marianne Brandon. For Karen Wood and Dr. Brandon, I'm Chuck Fresh. This is Radio Takeover. We'll see you next Wednesday at 1. Thank you. Dr. Brandon! Woo! Thanks so much. We'll see you soon.
This has been Radio Takeover, Brevard's hit talk radio show with Karen Wooden and Chuck Fresh. Heard every Wednesday at 1 p.m. right here on 1510 WMEL. And streaming all over the world 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on iTunes, iHeartRadio, YouTube, and SoundCloud. Join us next Wednesday at 1 for Radio Takeover. For sponsorship rates and availability, please log on to brevardradio.com.